this topic actually came about from a patient that I saw this week who I saw on consult, and she really had a ton of questions about the different type of implants because, as you may or may not know, there is a plethora of different types of implants. So I want to go through them and kind of just give people like a little overview. And I broke it down in different segments. And the first way I would break down implants is actual brands, right? You know, there's Chevy cars, there's Ford cars. Well, they have that for breast implants too. And in the United States, there's 4 that are used. 2 of them are kind of like the Chevy Ford, and that would be Mentor and Allergan. Those are the 2 biggest implant manufacturers in the United States. Followed by Sientra, which is one that's a little newer. And there's even one that I didn't know about called Ideal. Like, they're pretty new, and they only do saline implants, which is weird, and I'll mention that whenever we get to like the other little subsegments of implants. So when it comes to brands of implants, I mean, anything that's got FDA approved is going to be, for all intents and purposes, you know, safe. And then I don't know, like I would just ask, you know, your surgeon. I personally prefer Mentor. I mean, it is the #1 manufacturer of implants in the world. More Mentor implants are put into anything, and they are actually manufactured here in Dallas, Texas.
Oh.
The plants, I've actually visited the plant, and not that I would use them just because of that, but I mean, it is a nice little perk. And honestly, really why I became interested in the beginning is because the guy who was my mentor was a very big believer in Mentor, the company. And so when I came out on my own, I was like, oh, well, I'm already familiar with these implants. They're the #1, you know, manufacturer. I'm going to use Mentor. But I think that, you know, if you go to a surgeon and you might ask them what they use, you know, I think as long as they use a brand that's like you've heard of, that you're probably okay. I don't know. I probably wouldn't use Ideal only because I don't like saline implants. But
oh yeah, we know.
But we're going to talk about that in a second. But yeah, but those are the brands of implant: Mentor, Allergan, Sientra, and Ideal. Next would be like the question of saline versus silicone implants.
Yes.
You know, because that's kind of the next big like differentiation. So in this day and age, it's about 95% silicone implants that are put in, you know, and that has changed many times through the years. Like in the 70s and 80s, it was a lot of silicone, and then there was the issues with the liquid silicone, and they were taken off the market. Then it was only saline. Then silicone came back out, and then it was like, you know, 90% saline, 10% silicone, and that's actually kind of swapped over the past 20 years. I'll use saline implants, but I really, really recommend people use silicone, and not because I get anything out of them using silicone. It's just that silicone look more natural, they feel more natural, and they last longer. And really the only downside to saline, I mean the upside to saline is they're a little bit cheaper, but like in the cost of the surgery, like it's not.
Yeah, I have them, but I don't know why I got them. Like I got them.
Saline? Mm-hmm. What year did you get them? Or is that too personal? I don't know.
No, I think we've talked about it before.
Have we?
I got them when I was 21, so I'm 33 now. So
12 years ago. So you got them in 2010.
Do math.
So in 2010, really silicone were much more popular than saline.
I'm not sure why the doctor, like, he gave me the option. He was an older man, yeah.
That's it, yeah. The older guys that I guess got burned by the original silicone implants, and this is, you know, stereotyping a little bit, but like older surgeons, like, you know, 60s, they tend to still use saline even today. It's like they just can't let go of them. Yeah. But, you know, the saline implants actually have silicone in them too, because the shell is made of silicone.
Yeah, plastic, yeah.
Yeah, they're actually outside of it. And, you know, the silicone implants today are solid. So like all the problems they had back in the, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s are not really an issue these days.
Well, do you have a particular instance where you would recommend saline over silicone?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if somebody came to me and they said, look, I want breast implants, but I absolutely don't want silicone implants for whatever reason. Like I only want saline, or I'm not going to get them. I mean, I would do saline for them, you know, but it's like, you know, it's a lesser product. And so, you know, I would recommend silicone over that. But, and we've seen all the, like the videos I make, those silicone are really durable. Like, you know,
yeah,
you know,
you ran your car over it.
I know. That's a good
and hit it
deal.
with bats.
All right, so the next kind of like differentiation would be the smooth versus textured. And I think I brought a picture. Yeah, there we go. So there's smooth there on the left, textured on the right. And I actually brought some. And Travis, you're not going to be able to feel the implants unless I throw them through the window. But so this is a smooth, and this is and this actually is a tissue expander. It's not even.
I was like, yeah, that has like some type of like
Yeah, it's got a filling
device
port.
on it.
But for all intents and purposes, this is similar to a saline textured implant. Just you wouldn't have the port on it. But I was just going to bring it so you could feel the difference. Like, I mean, one's smooth and one's it's like rough, right? Can you feel it?
Mm-hmm. Well, this one just feels more like watery.
It is. It's saline.
Yeah.
I don't have a silicone textured, and I'll tell you why.
I got a silicone textured. This is what I've got with saline in it, though.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, smooth. So the reason that textured implants even exist is the idea of textured implants is that textured implants will actually adhere to the tissues, and so it to a certain degree stops the implant from moving, whether that be rotation or sliding in a direction. Now, ideally, like you wouldn't have a pocket that's so big that you would need the implant to grab onto anything. And so the whole implant moving thing for me is like a non-factor, because if you do the surgery right, that shouldn't be an issue. The reason that textures, exist, I guess, for some people is there are shaped implants, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the reason I don't like textured implants, and I never really liked them, I always preferred the smooth, but in the past 10 years, it was determined that there's a very rare lymphoma that is associated only with textured implants. Yeah, and it's called breast implant associated ALCL. Now, the risk of it is very, very, very low. It's like 1 in thousands, but smooth implants don't have that.
Yeah.
And so, I never liked this textured implants to begin with. I don't use shaped implants, which we'll talk about in a second. So I've never put in a textured implant in my entire life. And in the United States, I didn't think anyone used textured implants, but there are some people that do for whatever reason. Well, I guess they're probably using shaped implants.
Yeah.
I got a question, I guess.
Yeah.
If textured ones have a risk of cancer, then why do some surgeons still use them?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I guess their reasoning would be, one, that risk of cancer is extremely low, and two, if they're using shaped implants, I don't think they make smooth shaped. I don't like shaped implants, so there's so many implants it's hard to keep up with them, but I think that all of the shaped implants are textured. So it might be that they really like shaped implants, and those only come textured, although I'm gonna have to look into that because they may make smooth ones now. But that might be why they would use it. They'd be like, oh, well, the risk is really low, I informed the patient, and so I'm still gonna use them, so. And that does bring us to the next subsegment of implants, and that is round versus shaped implants. And I have a picture that I brought that you can see here. So the one on the left is a round implant, it's symmetrical, and the one on the right is shaped, and you see it's shaped like a teardrop for all intents and purposes, where it's got more volume on one side. And the idea of a shaped implant is that if you use a larger implant that's round, it does have a tendency to make the breast really full up top, which gives that kind of fake look to the breast. And a shaped implant where it was more filled in the bottom would, to a certain degree, not give you that artificial look, but still be a large breast. And in theory, that's not a bad thing, I guess. But interestingly enough, I was actually in the FDA trial for these shaped implants because the lead investigator, or one of them, I don't know if there was many, was Dennis Hermann, who is that famous plastic surgeon that I trained under. And so we were putting in these shaped implants back, before they were even released to the general, population of surgeons. And the one thing that we noticed is that they do rotate, and that's a problem because if they rotate, then the breast doesn't look right, because then that extra volume gets either at the top or the side. And we had to take a few people back to surgery to open them up and reposition that implant. And I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in that.
Oh, so that's why I guess the textured ones are used more, because they don't move as much?
They adhere a little bit. Yeah, because they're supposed to adhere, right? They're supposed to adhere, but they don't always adhere enough to keep it from rotating, we found.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he used them after that trial. I don't want to say, because I'm not 100% sure, because I don't talk to him all the time anymore, but.
This might be a crazy question. When they rotate like that,
Yeah.
Are you able to just like,
No.
no, you have to go in?
Yes. Yeah. And that was the problem because, you know, if you have to use an implant that causes someone to go back to surgery for some reason, I mean, that's money they have to pay.
Right.
You know, and so I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. For me, I tend not to use really giant implants. I try to talk people out of it. So I don't get a lot of people that get that really fake look anyway. I mean, maybe to a small degree, but you know, I just wouldn't even use them. If somebody came in wanting, yeah, I would just be like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'll send you down the road or something.
I just thought maybe you could like tap the shoulder.
You would,
and like
tap.
Yeah, just like rotate
No, we
it.
never found that you could do that. Like
Yeah,
we were
for
having to open them up. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the round versus shape, and then the last one would be the actual gel. And so you still got that one. So this is just your run-of-the-mill cohesive gel, which is going to be your softest one. So I want you to feel that. I mean, it feels like breast tissue. It's very soft. This is a more cohesive gel, and you can see in the shape of it that it doesn't collapse as much.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't.
and turn it on its side. You know, when you turn that one on its side, it tends to make that teardrop-like shape.
Oh, yeah.
Where this one tries to hold it a little bit more because it's a thicker gel. Feel it. See? So the reason that cohesive or higher cohesive gel implants are made is the exact opposite of the teardrop. It's made to give you that upper pole fullness because the softer gels do turn into a teardrop and collapse when they're in your body to a certain degree, and those resist that. And so you'll get that more full up top. I would use a more cohesive gel implant if somebody came in and specifically said, look, I don't want to have like huge breasts, so I want a small implant, but I do want a really full up top. And I might be like, okay, in that instance, I might use a more cohesive gel. That being said, I much prefer the softer gel because I don't know if you noticed, but like
I think that's what I have, the softer one.
I thought yours were saline.
But mine's, yeah, it is, but mine are not, I don't know, maybe because they're old.
Oh yeah, they lose volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're 12 years old, what happens is they lose volume and then they feel softer because they're not as full. Saline, that's one of the problems with saline. But my biggest complaint about the more cohesive gel is that you can feel them. Like the really soft gel, if they're in somebody, you can't feel them. Like it just blends in with your breast tissue, and it feels like you don't have anything in. It just feels like your own tissue. The more cohesive gel you can feel, depending on how hard it is.
Yeah, I would imagine you'd be able to
You'd
feel
be able
that
to
one.
feel it, yeah. So it's just like another option, but I would use that. I mean, it's not a product I wouldn't use. It's just not one I, say, oh, try this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I find that the round, smooth, cohesive gel implants look good for 99% of people.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm like a real like big texture person, so I like to like feel stuff. Like even when I'm eating, like I can only eat certain like textured foods, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, so it's taking everything in me not to like come out there and like, can I just see one real quick?
Dude,
Like,
I'm gonna bring it to you after the show.
I know it. I'm trying to be patient.
It's gonna happen, dude. Just relax. Go come through the window. You'll get your chance.
I want to call a coworker so bad, like bring it to me.
come tap me out. I want to get on stage. All right, so the last thing is implant style and profile. And I did bring a picture. This is the best picture to show. So basically the style or profile is how wide the implant is for a given volume. So this is a 275 implant. If it was a moderate profile, it'd be more flat. Moderate plus, it's a little bit narrower but fuller, and then high would be even more narrow with more projection. So, the bottom line when it comes to profile is let your surgeon pick it, because if they're good, they're going to pick the profile that fits you best.
Right.
Like a good just rule of thumb is that like if you're a normal sized person going for augmentation, you're going to be high profile. And then some people would get moderate plus, and so that person might be someone with a wider chest base, like a 6 foot tall woman that has a larger chest size might want a little bit wider implant to fit. And the other flip side of that coin is like a super petite, like think of like a 5 foot, 90 pound girl. You might use an extra high profile that's more narrow. And you just want the implant to fit their breast base appropriately based on how much volume it is. So you kind of have to think, okay, this person wants a smaller implant, so they may need something that's a little bit narrower, otherwise it's going to be too wide. And so your surgeon should pick that. I mean, it makes me a little nervous when patients come in and say, oh, I want, this specific style of implant.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, man.
So, like, would a surgeon use a specific implant brand, like, if the patient did ask?
That's a good question. I mean, like, so for example, if somebody came into my office and said, look, I really want an Allergan implant. I mean, it would probably be hard to do because you have to have contracts with those companies. If the surgery center had a contract with Allergan, I might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like,
Yeah.
I bet you have brands that you only work with.
Yeah, I work exclusively with Mentor. Now, if the surgery center had a contract with Allergan, I might be able to do it because there are other plastic surgeons where I work. And so maybe, I mean, also it's kind of a headache, so I don't know. I would guess I'm an accommodating person, so I would try to accommodate them if I could. But I don't know if, it may be hard because I may have to set up a contract with Allergan, and then if it's a big deal, I might be like, no, it's not worth it.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
and most plastic surgeons only use one brand because you get, there are perks to using, more numbers of them, and so you'll tend to use just one type.
I can see that, for sure.
And then so lastly would be size. And size range anywhere from like, usable smallest size would be maybe 200 cc's up to, they technically go up to 800. I kind of don't like to use cosmetic implants bigger than maybe 450, 500 max because there's downsides to using implants that big. I tend to only use the really big implants for people who've had actual mastectomies. So, but yeah, that's just kind of the basics on implants, and it's a good question because if you get on the internet and you're like, oh, what breast implant should I get? You're going to see, oh, there's all these brands. There's Saline, there's Silicone, there's high profile, there's moderate profile, there's shaped, there's round, there's smooth, there's textured. And like as a consumer, it's like, geez, I have no idea like what I want. So yeah, basically that's it. That's the little bit about each one. And so I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions about implants, please just leave us a comment and I'd be happy to answer for them on another show.
Absolutely.
I have a side question.
Yeah. A side question. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this. I like questions. I like to answer questions. What do you got?
This just came to my head. On a scale of 1 to 10, how awkward would it be for you to do a breast surgery on me?
Oh, I wouldn't be at all.
Okay.
Listen.
I feel like that would be so awkward.
In my friend group, like I've done a lot of them. And I forget, like truly I forget. I've had friends of mine come up to me, now not like if I did it last week, but like I truly have had friends of mine come up to me and be like, oh yeah, my surgery. And I'm like, I did your surgery? And they're like, yeah, yes. I'm like, I did? Like, because to me it's like just like work, right? Because when you're in the,
I know, but
like when
I
you're in
think
the
it's
OR,
funny.
like, all you see is just the body part. It's like you can't even tell who it is. But
I know,
I did my
but-
wife's augmentation. Which wasn't, people who say, was that like weird? I'm like, no, that wasn't weird. I wouldn't let anyone else do it because I'm the best.
As you should.
So humble.
But yeah, if you want, hey, listen, you want your plastic surgeon to be confident, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to go to a non-confident surgeon.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think I can do it.
Hey, there's a
I
joke.
think I can do that.
There's a
for
joke
you.
about plastic
What?
surgeons. If you ask a plastic surgeon who the best 2 surgeons are in the world, they'll have a hard time coming up with a second person. That's pretty true also.
Doctors are known for being narcissistic. So.
I like to think of it as more confident than narcissistic.
There we go.
Sure.
Sure.
All right.